This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta, and in this very special edition of Walk the Talk, my guest today for the second time on Walk the Talk, Mr. Brajesh Mishra, former National Security Advisor, Principal Secretary to Prime Minister, but more important than that, the architect and the author of the first few chapters of India's new strategic positioning in a post-Cold War world. And let me also point out the initiator of India's this great new opening to the US, leading up to what was then called New Steps in Strategic Partnership. And now NSSP. And to many of us, while the 1-2-3 deal looks like a logical conclusion of, or logical next step of NSSP, now one of its great critics. So, Brajesh, welcome to Walk the Talk.
Thank you.
So how does one explain this? You know, I thought you should be very happy that this was my child, this is growing.
Yes, of course. As you know, the NDA government, with which I was associated for 6 years, all of it 6 years, they had an agenda. They came to power, so far as foreign policy is concerned, to open up India's context worldwide, not restrict them here or there, as it was before the Cold War. And in that scheme, the US, of course, has a preeminent place. So I am a votary of very good relations with the United States.
And a strategic partnership.
And of course, it could lead to strategic partnership.
Yes. That's why next steps in strategic partnership.
Now, what we did was a gradual move forward. After all, in both countries, in the United States and in India, there are lots of reservations about each other. Yes. And being two big democracies, it is very natural that there should be. So we wanted to move slow, step by step. That's why it's called next steps, step by step. And so far as I was concerned, my idea was to safeguard our strategic program. There is a military nuclear program.
Strategic nuclear weapons program.
While pushing for good relations with the United States, while getting their sanctions removed on high technology, on dual-use items, etc., etc. But without ever compromising the strategic programs. Now, when this was announced in July of 2005, there was
the 1-2-3 deal was announced in July 2005.
Well, it became 1-2-3 later on, but it was
the major agreement.
Joint declaration on the 18th of July 2005. Right. There was a reference to our moratorium, and there was a reference to India working with the United States in Geneva on a fissile material cut-off treaty. Now, as soon as I saw those two things, I said, this will have an impact on our strategic program, and an adverse impact on them. Later on, last year, in the month of March, when President Bush was here, and he, in his meeting with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, they came to an agreement on a separation plan, separating India's civil nuclear facilities
with military
from the military facilities. And when they announced that, my apprehension was justified. I said, now this is clear. Because what the government agreed to was to put under safeguards, IAEA safeguards, 14 of our reactors. Now where is the fissile material for the weapons purposes?
Are the rest of the reactors enough to produce that?
Let me explain this a little more. India has a no first strike policy.
Right.
That is, we will not be the first to initiate a nuclear.
Initiated by you.
No India will not. India will not. That is, it was in our nuclear doctrine, which was published in January of 2004. Yes. Which means that you have to have enough weapons, both nuclear and thermonuclear, to deter any potential, any aggressor, any enemy who wants to do, so that he knows that the unacceptable damage would be inflicted on him if he were to initiate a first strike. So the level of deterrence, the credibility of deterrence is high, has to remain high if you are not in the game of...
Whereas a country like Pakistan almost has a first use policy.
It has said very clearly it does not rule out first strike. So, given that, I came to the conclusion that by agreeing to this separation plan, or by putting it forward, by agreeing to work with the United States on the FMCT in Geneva, not with others, but with the United States. That is the wording of the July 2005 declaration. The government was showing little concern for our strategic program. And I came to the conclusion that the government was less than enthusiastic about our strategic program. And therefore I've been opposing it. But Shekhar, let me put it to you this way. Since I'm also a votary of very good relations with the United States, I recognize that this deal has a very important place in the strategic partnership between
the two countries.
And it's obvious that if the deal doesn't go through, which is what seems likely today, I'm not aware of the latest developments.
Right.
But if that is so, then it will have, at least in the short term, an adverse impact on the growth of our relationship with...
Will it be a huge setback?
I cannot say it's going to be a permanent setback.
No, a huge setback for now.
But it will be, at least in the next few years, it will have...
Next few years, that's a big enough setback.
Well, I mean, it's quite clear that if it doesn't go through, then during the rest of the Bush administration, nothing much is going to happen between India and the United States. And then when a new administration comes in...
And if it's Hillary, I think she's laid her cards bare already. She would insist on CTBT and much more, because she's an anti-proliferationist.
She has said that, and in fact she has also more or less indicated that as far as Asia is concerned, her pride of place for her foreign policy will be given to China.
How does one save the deal and save the Indo-US relationship? Or lets the deal go and saves the Indo-US relationship? How will you, if you were advising the UPA government, which will remain in power for some time, how would they get out of this?
Now, before I answer that question, let me make it clear that I'm not going to be speaking on behalf of any political party or any leadership of
Yes, absolutely.
This is my personal...
You speak, as I said in the very beginning, you speak as the architect of this new strategic shift in India's foreign policy.
So this is a very personal opinion.
In fact, you change the way India looks at itself in the strategic mirror, isn't it? So I speak to you as the architect of that, a personal view.
If I were to get credible guarantees from the government about the integrity of our strategic program, what we had left behind 3.5 years ago, and what has been done during these 3.5 years, for them to prove that they are also enthusiastic about our strategic program, then I personally would say, okay, let's go ahead with the deal. Because I am not so critical of the US for following a particular policy. I am critical of this government for bending to the wishes of the United States and losing sight.
Are you also surprised by the vehemence with which the BJP is opposed it? Because at the popular level, there's a great deal of skepticism.
No, I think they have gone into, some of the leaders of BJP have gone into the minute examination of 1, 2, 3, Hyde Act, etc., etc. And therefore it comes out that they are as opposed as the left are. But I think it has also been made clear by a number of them that they are for good Indo-American relations.
Including Mr. Advani.
Mr. Advani has said it, and I think Mr. Yashwant Sinha and some others, they have also said it.
But because we all have, as a nation, we have a stake in that. We can't be allies of Venezuela.
No, it's obvious it can't be that. We have, but you know, this government has also not helped. The vote on Iran in the Atomic Energy Agency in September of 2005. Obvious, everyone, it was under pressure from the United States as an advance payment for the deal. The quadrilateral move here with Japan and Australia and whatnot, which China has obviously taken umbrage with that. They are now saying, one need not agree with them, but they are now saying it's an Asian version of NATO which is coming up.
The Chinese are saying that.
Chinese are.
Well, if our own left is saying that also.
We need not agree with that description. But the coming together of this, obviously with China as the aim, I mean, this doesn't help. And when people start saying, where is the independence of your foreign policy? Where is the autonomy in decision making in your foreign? Then they have something to cite, some example to give. So this government has not helped.
You would not have voted on the Iran resolution?
I would have abstained.
Abstained.
Like most of the non-aligned countries, like Russia. And let me say, I can't believe that Russia is any less concerned about Iran going nuclear, militarily nuclear, than we are.